I never thought I'd be the guy writing about a betrayal like this, but here I am. It all started on what was supposed to be our perfect anniversary dinner. We'd booked a table at that fancy Italian place downtown, the one with dim lighting, candles flickering, and that weirdly good bread that's probably making us all fat. I'd been excited all week, planning to surprise her with a little gift, picturing us laughing over cheesy pasta and clinking glasses. I wanted to believe I was finally getting it right, that I'd nailed the perfect night. But from the second she sat down, something felt off. She was fidgety, constantly checking her phone more than usual. Her eyes darted toward the screen when she thought I wasn't looking, and she'd hide her phone quickly when I glanced her way. I brushed it off at first. Maybe she was just texting a friend or something. But after our salads arrived and we'd made small talk about work, I caught her glancing again and quickly swiping her screen. Then she did something I'll never forget. She leaned in, giggled softly, and whispered, "Sorry, I just need to check something real quick." I saw her hand go to her purse, but I was already suspicious. I was about to tell her to just leave it, so obvious she was hiding something, when I noticed her thumb swipe across her phone screen with a speed that screamed guilt. I reached over, my stomach twisting, and snatched her phone before she could slide it away. Her eyes widened in that guilty, nervous way. Her face went pale. "Hey, what are you doing?" she stammered. I unlocked her phone without asking, my fingers trembling. I didn't need a password. She'd left it unlocked, careless or just stupid enough to think I wouldn't look. What I saw made my heart pound so loud I could feel the blood rushing in my ears. There were dozens of texts from her, little flirty messages, emojis, inside jokes, all with my best friend. They'd been talking during our dinner. During the toast, I'd been pouring my heart out about how much I loved her. I read the messages, her name popping up over and over, and I could almost taste the betrayal. My palms went clammy, my mind spun. I looked up at her, my voice tight with shock. "You've been texting him the whole time?" I managed. She looked away, avoiding my gaze, her fingers fidgeting with her napkin. "It's not what you think," she whispered, but her voice cracked and she was trembling. It's nothing, nothing like her phone filled with suggestive messages, nothing like the fact that they'd planned to meet again soon." I felt my fists clench. The worst part, during our toast, she was secretly texting him, planning what I later found out was a full-blown affair. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. How could I have been so blind? How did I miss all those signs, the late nights, the secretive calls, her suddenly needing to work late? That night everything changed. The woman I loved, the woman I thought I knew, had been lying right in front of me. And I knew then that I'd never look at her the same way again. I needed to do something. I needed to plan my next move, because this wasn't just a slap in the face. It felt like my entire world was crumbling. But I also knew I couldn't confront her without a plan. I had to be smart, cold. Even, I needed evidence, a clear plan that would give me the upper hand, because if I just yelled or left, she'd deny it. And I didn't want to be just another guy pushed aside by a cheating wife. I wanted her to feel every ounce of what she'd done. I wanted my revenge, but I also wanted her to realize she'd destroyed everything we built. So I took her phone, slid it into my pocket, and kept the evidence. I watched her, trembling, blinking fast, and I thought, this is just the beginning. What she doesn't know is that I've already started to plan her downfall. I'm not the kind of guy to go quietly, not anymore. And trust me, she's going to regret this. I spent the next few days simmering, trying to keep my head clear, but everything inside me was boiling over. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her texting him, those little messages that painted her as someone I didn't recognize. I kept replaying the scene at dinner, her nervously hiding her phone, her guilty eyes darting away. That image haunted me the most. It was like a poison crawling through my mind, twisting my stomach each time I thought about what I'd discovered. I knew I couldn't confront her without concrete proof, so I decided to dig deeper. I wanted to make sure I had everything, the full picture. I started by going through her texts more carefully, screenshotting everything that looked suspicious. I even installed a discreet app on her phone, something I never thought I'd do, but at that moment it felt necessary. I wanted to catch her in the act if she slipped up again. I needed leverage because revenge wasn't going to be just some petty shouting match. I wanted her to feel the sting, the full weight of betrayal. While I was doing this, I kept noticing other things. Her nervous glances at her phone when I was around, her quick responses when I asked about her day, and her sudden obsession with working late. It all added up to one thing. She was hiding something, and I was going to find out exactly how deep this went. I was furious, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. This was my line in the sand. One night I decided enough was enough. I sat her down after dinner, no more hiding, no more pretending. I was cold, calm, but my voice was sharp. We need to talk. I saw the messages. I know what you've been doing. Her face drained of color. She stammered, "It's not what you think. I didn't mean for—" "Oh, save it." I cut her off. "All I know is that you've been lying to me, cheating behind my back. During my toast, you were texting him. During our night out, you were planning your next move. How long has this been going on? Do you even care about what you've done to us?" She looked like she wanted to say something, but the words died in her throat. That's when I realized I had to take control of the situation. I told her I was done, that I needed space to think. But inside, I was already planning my next steps. I couldn't let this slide. No way. I needed to make her regret ever crossing that line. I started researching ways to expose her, to make her feel embarrassed, powerless. I needed her to see that I wasn't just some naive husband who'd be by her betrayal. I wanted her to understand what she'd lost. I knew I couldn't just walk away and let this be over. No, I had to make her pay in a way that would leave her shaken. That's when I came up with my revenge plan. It was simple but brutal, enough to make her regret ever trusting her own deception. I'd set a trap, one that would expose her to everyone she cared about. I'd get those messages out, make her see that I knew everything. And I'd do it publicly, where she couldn't deny it. I wanted her to feel humiliated, to realize she'd lost her marriage, her dignity, everything. But first, I needed to do some more groundwork. So I kept my cool, kept gathering evidence, and waited for the right moment to strike. My stomach clenched every time I thought about her sneaking around, her betrayal hanging in the air like a bad smell I couldn't shake. I knew that once I executed my plan, there'd be no going back. But I also knew I'd finally be in control of the situation. That was what mattered now. I looked at her across the table. That night, her trembling hands, her guilty eyes. I knew the game was on, and I was ready. I just had to wait for the perfect moment. The moment I could finally give her a taste of her own medicine. And when that moment came, she'd realize that betrayal comes with consequences. That's a promise. Over the next few days, I stayed quiet, watching her every move like a hawk. I didn't want her to suspect I was onto her, so I kept my reactions in check. Inside, though, I was like a volcano ready to erupt. I had all the pieces I needed, screenshots of the texts, the secret conversations, the planning. I had what I needed to make her pay. I just had to wait for the right moment. One night I came home late from work, my heart pounding. I arranged everything perfectly. I had a friend on standby who could help me distribute the evidence anonymously. I wanted her to get what was coming to her in a way that she'd never forget. The idea of seeing her face when she realized I'd uncovered everything made me feel alive again. Angry, yes, but also in control. I sat her down in the living room, the dim glow of the lamp casting shadows across her face. Her eyes flickered with fear, but she tried to hide it behind a half-smile. "What do you want?" she asked, voice trembling. I looked at her, my fists clenched. "I want to show you something," I said coldly. "Something you need to see, and then we'll talk." I pulled out my phone, opened the folder of screenshots, and slowly showed her everything. Her face went pale when she saw the messages. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. "No, this can't be," she whispered, but I knew better. I'd made copies, saved everything, and now I was going to make sure she paid the price. "You lied to me during our anniversary dinner," I said, voice sharper than ever. "While I was pouring my heart out, you were texting him. You've been sneaking around for months. I want everyone to see what you've done." I hit send on the anonymous email I'd prepared, which contained all the incriminating evidence plus a note. "This is the truth. Enjoy explaining yourself." Her eyes widened in horror. "You're doing this because you're angry," she stammered, tears starting to form. "Please don't ruin everything." "Ruin everything?" "No," I thought. "I'm just making sure everyone knows what kind of woman you really are." I wanted her to feel exposed, vulnerable, helpless, because I'd finally had enough. She crossed every line, and I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I'd made sure everyone would see her true face. The fallout was immediate. The next morning, my phone exploded with messages and calls from friends, family, and even some colleagues. The truth was out, and there was no denying it. She tried to deny everything in the beginning, but the evidence was indisputable. Her face went pale every time someone confronted her. She was trembling, desperate to spin a lie, but her words sounded hollow. I watched her try to recover, but I knew the damage was done. She was losing control of her carefully constructed facade. That's when I decided it was time for the final move. I wanted her to understand that this wasn't just about betrayal. This was about her losing everything she thought she had. It was about her realizing that her lies were now exposed and there was no turning back. In the end, I handed her the keys to her car, packed a small bag, and told her it was over. I didn't shout, didn't scream, just kept my voice cold and steady. You betrayed me and you betrayed yourself. Don't come back. I handed her the divorce papers I'd already prepared, the official cut, definitive and final. She looked at me, tears streaming down her face, but I didn't care. I felt a strange mixture of relief and emptiness. Part of me wanted to feel victorious, but mostly I just felt numb. I'd done what I had to do. I'd uncovered her lies, exposed her cheating, and ended the nightmare. As she walked to her car, clutching her bag like a security blanket, I finally let myself breathe. Looking back, I realize how much I let his betrayal eat away at me. But what I've learned is this. Sometimes, the only way to truly take control is to face the truth head-on and be willing to walk away. That's how I reclaimed my dignity, and that's what I'd tell anyone in my shoes. Don't let someone's lies destroy you. Stand up, find your strength, and don't look back. The aftermath hit harder than I expected. Once she was gone, I thought I'd feel some relief, maybe a weight lifting from my shoulders. Instead, there was an odd emptiness, like I'd lost part of myself along with her. For days, I couldn't escape the sound of my own thoughts. Every moment of silence brought her voice. The whispers, the texts, the lies I uncovered. It was as if her betrayal had carved a hollow in my chest. I kept replaying everything, trying to understand how I missed the signs, how I let her get so close before it all fell apart. The betrayal hurt, but the worst part was feeling like everything I believed about us was a lie. Our memories, our plans, the quiet trust I'd placed in her, all shattered in a matter of moments. And yet, amid the chaos, I knew I had to move forward. Staying stuck in anger wasn't going to fix anything. One thing I did that helped was cleaning out the apartment. It sounds small, but removing all the reminders of her, photos, gifts, her clothes, made the situation tangible. I needed to reclaim the space to make it mine again. As I packed her things, I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and bitterness. Every item I put in the box felt like a small victory, like I was reclaiming my life one step at a time. I also called my closest friends, someone I trusted to talk through everything. I needed someone to tell me I wasn't losing my mind. One evening, I sat on my balcony, feeling the cool night air on my face. My phone buzzed and I saw a message from one of my friends. You did the right thing. That cheating bitch didn't deserve you. That simple message gave me a boost. It reminded me I wasn't crazy for feeling angry. I'd been nothing but honest, loving, and faithful, and she'd thrown it all away. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal, that deep down I'd trusted her with everything. Now that trust was gone, replaced by cold, hard facts. The thing I realized during this mess was that revenge wasn't just about hurting her. It was about reclaiming my dignity, my self-respect. She'd taken that from me, but I was determined to get it back. That's why I refused to be the broken man she thought she'd left behind. I started going to the gym again, focusing on myself instead of obsessing over her. I wanted to rebuild what she tried to destroy, but I also knew I had to do something more, something that would really prepare me for what was next. I reached out to a lawyer and started the divorce process. It was a long, frustrating road. The paperwork, the meetings, the endless back and forth. But deep down, I felt a strange sense of relief. I was cutting the cord, finally freeing myself from her lies. I guess the biggest lesson I learned is that betrayal changes everything, but it also forces you to confront who you really are. I stopped blaming myself. I stopped hoping she'd come back. Instead, I focused on rebuilding my life brick by brick. That's when I realized revenge isn't just about the damage you do to someone else. It's about reclaiming your own strength. And I was determined to do just that. Now looking back, I see the whole thing as a hard lesson. Trust is fragile. Love can be a beautiful thing until it's shattered by someone you thought you knew. But in the end, I'm stronger for having survived it. I know I'll never forget, but I also know I won't let her betrayal define me. I'm finally moving forward piece by piece, one step at a time. And that's how I'm going to heal. After a few weeks of almost constant reflection, I realized I needed to make a firm decision about my future. I couldn't keep dragging around the weight of her betrayal, nor could I keep pretending I was okay when inside I was still furious and hurt. The truth was, I'd been carrying a big, suffocating anger that needed to be released. I didn't want to stay stuck in bitterness, but I also wasn't ready to forgive her, not yet. What finally clicked was that I had to do something tangible, something that would clearly mark the end of this chapter. I needed to burn the last remnants of her hold over me, not just figuratively, but literally. I went through her belongings, kept the few things I still cared about, and then I found the divorce papers I'd prepared. I signed them, put everything in a small envelope, and drove to her apartment. My hands were a little shaky, but I felt a strange sense of relief as I pulled into her driveway. I knocked twice, then slid the envelope underneath her door. No words, just that simple gesture. I had done what I needed, delivering the final blow, the decisive act that said, "This is over." As I turned to leave, I felt like I'd finally reclaimed some of my power. I was done waiting for her to explain or apologize. I had already moved on mentally, physically, and now I was closing the door behind her for good. A few days later, I went to the court to file for divorce. Standing there, watching the paperwork get stamped and processed, I felt like I'd crossed a line. It was a necessary step to free myself from the chains of her lies. I knew that once this was finalized, I could finally breathe again. I could start fresh, rebuild everything she tore apart, and learn to trust again, myself first and foremost. But even after everything, I couldn't help but think about how she'd betrayed me, how she'd turned our relationship into a lie. I kept asking myself, how do you move on from something like that? The answer, I realized, is you don't forget. You carry the lessons with you, the warning signs, the red flags, and you make sure you don't let someone break you again. You rebuild your trust, but only with cautious steps. Now, standing where I am, I know I'm finally free. No more games, no more lies. I handed her the keys, told her to leave, and closed the chapter forever. The house is quiet now, the air is clearer. I walk around without that knot in my stomach. I sleep better. It's not about revenge anymore, it's about reclaiming my life piece by piece. What I'd say to anyone in my shoes is simple. Don't linger in the pain. Don't wait for things to get better on their own. Make a decision. Take control. Because at the end of the day, you owe it to yourself to walk away from betrayal with your dignity intact. And once you do, you realize your life is still yours to rebuild. That's the best revenge of all. Looking back now, I can honestly say that walking away was the hardest thing I've ever done. Not just because I was losing someone I loved, but because I had to face the brutal truth that my entire relationship was based on lies. Every moment I believed in us, every plan we made, every promise. I finally saw it for what it really was, a house of cards. And once the truth was out, there was no putting it back together. The process of healing has been slow and at times painfully difficult. I won't pretend I'm magically over it. There are still nights when I lie awake and think about all the signs I missed, all the red flags I ignored. But I also recognize something powerful. I survived. I didn't let her betrayal define me. Instead, I took control of my life and made a choice to walk away with my head held high, knowing I did the right thing. Every morning now, I wake up and remind myself that I am stronger than the pain she caused. I look around my apartment, which I turned into a place of peace and stability, and I realize I've built something new, something that belongs to me. The betrayal was a blow, but it also forced me to confront what truly matters, my own happiness, my integrity, my future. I handed her the divorce papers, and I felt an odd sense of closure. It was final. That chapter was officially closed. I still think about her sometimes, but usually it's with a mixture of anger and relief. I'm angry she hurt me so deeply, but I'm relieved I don't have to live with her lies anymore. I don't have to wonder whether she's hiding something or sneaking around. I finally know the truth, and that truth set me free. If I could give one piece of advice to anyone reading this, it's this: trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, don't ignore it. Don't brush it off. The signs are there, and the sooner you face them, the better. And when you find out the truth, no matter how painful, remember that you have the strength to walk away. You don't need someone who lies, who betrays, who cheats. You're worth more than that. Living through this has taught me that revenge isn't about hurting her back. It's about reclaiming your own dignity. The real victory is in standing tall after everything falls apart. It's in choosing yourself over the deceit, because in the end, the only person you truly owe loyalty to is yourself. Now I look forward. I've started dating again, cautiously but honestly. I won't rush into anything, but I'm open to new beginnings, ones built on honesty and trust. That's what I deserve, and that's what everyone deserves. A chance to heal, to grow, and to find happiness after betrayal. So here's my final takeaway. Don't let betrayal break you. Use it as a lesson. Take back control and never settle for less than you're worth. Because if I can turn my heartbreak into a new start, so can you.